In a couple of recent 10mm handgun reviews, I mentioned that I reload for the 10mm. There were a surprising number of questions that came in centered around loading full-power rounds for the 10mm. In this video, I'll try to answer some of those recurring questions based on my experience with the 10mm I've owned. One of the things I've discovered over the years is that full-power 10mm rounds require a fully supported chamber. A number of questions did pop up concerning two 10mm pistols in particular, the Colt Delta Elite and the Glock 10mm. Apparently, there are a number of you who have concerns created by conflicting information you've heard about these two 10mm. So let's get that out of the way first. Here's my reloading experience with those handguns. Your mileage, of course, might vary. Glock factory 10mm barrels do come with some pretty loose chamber tolerances. A few people were concerned about case splitting issues with full power ammo. Apparently there are a few Glock owners who've had this happening. All I can talk about is my personal experience. With new factory ammo like Underwood, Buffalo Bore, or Double Tap, I haven't personally experienced any case splitting issues with the Glock 10mm. With fired cases that have been reloaded several times, I've had a few split and cause extraction problems with the Glock factory barrels. If you're having ongoing issues with case cracking or splitting in your Glock with full power rounds, the simple fix is to install a fully supported aftermarket replacement barrel, like those made by Storm Lake or Lone Wolf. These aftermarket barrels have better chamber tolerances and are less likely to allow excessive case expansion. These barrels provide better case support for full power 10mm rounds. After installing this replacement barrel, I don't recall a single instance of that ever happening again. Then again, for those people who don't reload for their Glocks, this isn't likely to be an issue for them anyway. There is a secondary benefit that comes with installing one of these replacement barrels in your 10mm Glock. We'll touch on that a bit more in a few minutes. When the FBI got involved by adopting the 10mm, it all went to hell in a handbasket pretty quick. They insisted on a downgraded or neutered version of the 10mm round. This downgraded version of the 10mm round has never seemed to pose a problem for the Colt Delta Elite or the Glock. At least that's been my experience. As much as I dearly love the Colt Delta Elite for what it is, the two Delta Elites I've owned did have issues with full power ammo. I have experienced case head blowouts and a few complete case head separations, similar to that seen in this SIG barrel when using full power Norma class ammo in the Delta Elite. You can see the remainder of the case that's still lodged in the chamber. This will, of course, prevent any chance of chambering the next round. The Delta Elite has the classic 1911 chamber design and works perfectly with lower intensity cartridges like the 45 ACP. You can easily see the unsupported area here that generally creates a problem for high intensity cartridges like the 10mm. The lower powered 10mm ammo, also known as the FBI loads, fire just fine, but the two Deltas I've owned both had issues with full power 10mm rounds due to their lack of case head support. Underwood emphatically warns shooters not to use their ammo in the Delta Elite. They do offer a somewhat improved loading just for this Colt. This is something Delta Elite owners or potential owners need to be aware of if considering feeding a steady diet of full-power Norma class ammunition through the Delta Elite. All of the newer 10mm 1911 designs I've encountered appear to have addressed these chamber and case support issues, and don't exhibit any problems firing full-power ammunition. Another question that came up several times centered around using cast or swedge lead bullets in their 10mm pistols. Yeah, you can, as long as you keep velocities under 1100 feet per second. Velocities much higher than that can create some serious barrel leading problems. Apparently, a few of you have found this out. Glock advises that you not shoot cast or swedge-lead bullets in any of their barrels, period. The type of rifling Glock uses in their barrels does not work well with cast bullets in any caliber. The aftermarket Glock barrels I mentioned earlier have standard button-type rifling and work extremely well with either cast or jacketed bullets. If you'd like to shoot economical cast or swedge-lead plinking rounds in your Glock, these aftermarket barrels are the way to go. If you intend to run full power loads in your 10mm, I strongly suggest you stick with jacketed bullets. At velocities over 1200 feet per second, cast bullets, even the new polymer-coated ones, can leave a substantial mess behind inside your barrel. For full power rounds, just figure on using jacketed bullets and avoid a major bore cleanup project. The most frequently asked question was, where can I find reloading data that will allow me to load 10mm rounds equivalent to the original Norma specifications? Most powder manufacturers offer reloading data for their gunpowders directly on their websites. I found reloading data for the 10mm that safely duplicates the original Norma load at a couple of these websites. The 10mm is just like any other cartridge you intend to reload for. Any published reloading data should be reduced by at least 5% and gradually work back up. The reason for this is that no two firearms are exactly alike. No two chambers are exactly alike either. Even a few thousandths of an inch can produce a major difference in chamber pressures with the exact same load fired in two different firearms. Watch closely for signs of excessive pressure with each small powder increase. A severely flattened primer, or a primer with a dark, sooty ring around it, could be your first and last warning to back off the powder charge. My advice, work up to these full power loadings gradually. Use only the exact reloading components the data calls for. What appears to work fine in someone else's firearm could prove hazardous in yours. Something else you might want to keep in mind is that some of the 10mm pistols you'll encounter on today's market do not necessarily come with a recoil spring calibrated to handle full power 10mm ammunition. To prevent frame bashing, you might have to install a heavier recoil spring. Frame bashing is a term used to describe the failure of the recoil spring to properly slow down the slide as it cycles rearward as the round is fired. When this condition exists, the slide will smack the slide stop with enough force to eventually damage the frame. Fail to correct this by installing the correct recoil spring, well, you can choose not to, and you'll eventually kiss that 10mm goodbye. A little experimentation might be necessary to arrive at the correct balance between slide deceleration and its ability to start forward again to chamber the next round. Gradually increase the spring's weight rating until you achieve this balance. Basically, that's all there is to it. Well, that actually pretty much covers what I had jotted down in my notes. Keep in mind, the answers, tips, and information I have attempted to present here is far from all-inclusive. Specific reloading data will, of course, be up to you to research. If you're new to reloading or considering getting yourself set up for it, invest in some quality reloading manuals. Study up on the subject before even attempting to crank out your first reloaded round. If someone you know is an experienced reloader, seek out their advice on how to get started. Once you get the hang of it, you'll probably discover that reloading becomes a big part of your overall firearms ownership experience. What I've discovered over the years is that reloading can become a very interesting pastime, all by itself.